Previously, I'd started looking at different types of keyboards that I could use with my desk setup. I'd never had a mechanical keyboard before, and primarily I'd been using the keyboard that comes with the laptop, as most of my desk setups have primarily been based around a laptop. I'd heard of mechanical keyboards and I liked the idea of them, but I wanted something that's a bit more of a cross between a mechanical keyboard and a standard keyboard. This is how I ended up getting the idea of getting a low profile mechanical keyboard, and after a bit of research I stumbled across the company Keychron, and that's how I ended up with the Keychron K1. Except nowadays Keychron has lots of different types of keyboards and lots of different versions of the same keyboard, and somehow I've now got to the stage where I have a Keychron K1, a Keychron K1 SE and a Keychron K1 Pro. I thought to myself, now is probably a good time to compare these keyboards. Hi, my name's Colin and I'm a junior doctor working in the UK. Now in this video it's going to be a bit different from my usual videos because I'm going to be comparing mechanical keyboards. Not really talking about medicine as such. But yeah, in this video I'm going to be comparing the Keychron K1 versus the Keychron K1 SE versus the Keychron K1 Pro. So starting with the similarities between the three keyboards. All three keyboards are ultra slim, low profile mechanical keyboards made by Keychron. They're all available with low profile Keychron mechanical switches, and you have your standard choice between clicky blue switches, tactile brown switches and linear red switches. Each of the keyboards is backlit, and you have a choice between purchasing the slightly more expensive RGB lighting versus the slightly cheaper version which has just got the white backlighting if RGB isn't your thing and you want to save a bit of money. All the keyboards come with keys that allow you to switch out the standard Mac keyboard layout for the standard Windows layout. There's also a switch at the back of each keyboard which allows you to toggle between each layout. At the back there's also a switch which enables you to toggle between off mode, Bluetooth mode and cable mode, and each keyboard comes with a USB to type USB-A cable. However, I really wish they would have updated this to include USB Type-C to USB Type-C cables. All three keyboards can be paired with up to 3 devices and it's pretty easy to switch between them when you're typing. I've got all three keyboards in their 87 key, 10 key less versions. Essentially, they all have the same 80% form factor. Now that I've broadly covered the similarities, let's talk about the differences between these keyboards. Starting with structure. The Keychron K1 is constructed of a full aluminium body. This basically gives it no flex whatsoever. The only plastic can be seen on the base of the keyboard is at the sides. Unsurprisingly, this also makes it heavier when you compare it to the other two keyboards, with the Keychron K1 coming in at 650 grams versus 550 grams for the SE and 580 grams for the Pro. This is also likely because the Keychron K1 SE and the Keychron K1 Pro have a reinforced aluminium top of the case, but they've got a plastic underside. The bottom of it is basically plastic, and this gives them a little bit more bend and they just don't quite feel as sturdy. However, they are lighter and arguably more portable. Another difference with the body of the K1 is the corners are more angled, giving it a more traditional keyboard look, whereas both the SE and the Pro have rounded corners, which I personally prefer. Arguably, one of the main differences between the three keyboards is the Keychron K1 comes with little rubber feet that aren't adjustable, and I typically tend to prefer adjusting the feet of keyboards to their highest setting, so I just find that it improves my typing and makes it more comfortable for me to use. Thankfully, both the Keychron K1 SE and the Keychron K1 Pro both have plastic feet, which are height adjustable and gives you the option of 3 possible positions for their height. The K1 and the K1 SE both come with ABS keycaps. These keycaps tend to be a bit smoother and can develop a bit of shine when you use them over and over again as the grease comes off your fingers. However, the backlighting for these keyboards does shine through the keycaps, which does make it a bit easier if you are trying to do some work in the dark. The alphanumeric keys primarily have a light grey colour, whereas the function keycaps have a slightly darker grey colour. You do get a bit of contrast with the orange escape key, but if that's not to your taste, you can swap this out for one of the grey keycaps that comes with the keyboards. To be honest though, I like the contrast and I've kept the orange keycap on both my K1 and K1 SE. The Keychron K1 Pro, on the other hand, comes with the more expensive double shot PBT plastic keycaps. These keycaps have more of a texture to them whilst being more durable as well. Basically, they're not going to start to shine from the oil from your fingertips if you use them over and over again. The issue with the PBT keycaps is they don't let the backlighting shine through the keycaps, so it can be a bit more difficult when you're using this keyboard at night, although you do get the light coming around the edges of the keycaps, so you still can see the keyboard. The K1 Pro does come with slightly more coloured keycaps, so if you purchase the RGB backlit version, the alphanumeric keys are a sort of bluish greyish colour, which I quite like, and the function keys are predominantly black. However, the escape key and the enter key are a sort of reddish colour, so you do get a bit more colour with the keyboard. And like before with the K1 and the K1 SE, if you don't like the red keycaps, you can swap them out for the black keycaps that do come with the keyboard. With the release of the Pro version, Keychron have redesigned the stabilizers that they use for their keyboards. Basically, they've tried to reduce the wobble that you get in some of the bigger keys such as the spacebar that was particularly noticeable on the K1 and K1 SE. With these upgraded stabilizers, it basically means no matter where about you hit on the key, again using the spacebar as an example, you shouldn't get any wobble. Theoretically, this will improve your typing experience. The new redesigned stabilizers are supposed to remain in a straight line, ensuring that everything remains on the same level. Previously with the K1 and K1 SE, the versions of the stabilizers on these keyboards formed a sort of triangular shape, and this is what tended to lead to that noticeable wobble. The Keychron K1 has a battery life of up to 110 hours with RGB backlighting turned off and up to 38 hours with the RGB backlighting turned on, and this is as per the Keychron website. The Keychron K1 SE has a battery life of again 110 hours with the RGB backlighting off and up to 38 hours with the RGB backlighting on, again as per the Keychron website. So basically they're the same. The K1 and the K1 SE have the same battery life. Then moving on to the Keychron K1 Pro version, and this has a battery life of up to 100 hours with the RGB backlighting turned off and up to 33 hours with the RGB backlighting turned on. Despite it being the Pro model, this actually has a lesser battery life. You'd think it would have a bit of a better battery life given it is the Pro version. Now this is arguably what makes the Keychron K1 Pro model the Pro model. Keychron have added the ability to use VIA software with all the Keychron Pro keyboards. Once you plug your Keychron K1 Pro in using the USB cable, you're able to customize the commands, and you can change the function of your home button or write custom macros that help you with your workflow. And once you get the hang of it, it can make your user experience of using the keyboard more efficient and more personalized to you. Needless to say, that option isn't available with the Keychron K1 and the Keychron K1 SE models. Even when using the same switches, the keyboards do sound different. The Keychron K1 Pro is just a lot louder and just sounds a bit more clicky. This could be a little problem if you're trying to use it in an office setting, or if you're using it during Zoom calls or Microsoft Teams calls, because it will be audible to the person at the other end of the line. The Keychron K1 is actually quieter and the sound appears to be dampened. Unfortunately, I'm not able to compare the Keychron SE as I have the mint optical switches on this keyboard rather than the Gator Brown switches that I have on the K1 and the K1 Pro model. The mint optical switches give a different typing experience altogether, but I'll talk about that more in a bit. Now moving on to the cost of each keyboard. And for each keyboard I'll compare them with Gator switches, as the Pro doesn't have the option for the Keychron hot swappable optical switches, the ones that I've got on my SE. So the Keychron K1 white backlit keyboard is currently at $80.10 and the RGB version is at $89.10. The SE white backlit keyboard is currently at $75.60 and the RGB version is at $84.60. And finally, the Keychron K1 Pro white backlit keyboard is currently at $94 and the RGB version is at $104. You can also get the Pro version with the Gator hot swappable switches, but this adds $10 to the price. Since recently I bought the Keychron Pro, I definitely prefer it. I just find it easier to type on, and I like the fact you've got customizable keys, and this does make a difference when you do set it up. However, the one disappointment for me with the Keychron Pro is it doesn't offer the Keychron hot swappable optical switches, and these are what I have on the Keychron SE, and I have the mint switches. And because these mint switches have what's known as a tactile bump, I just find that it gives you better feedback when you're typing, and I actually like typing on it better. The other factor that helps me decide which ones I prefer is the fact that the Pro versions and the SE version have feet and make it height adjustable. I really don't like the fact that this isn't available on just a standard Keychron K1. Don't get me wrong, they're all really good keyboards, but through my own personal preferences, I would rank the Keychron K1 third, the Keychron K1 SE second, and my favourite being the Keychron K1 Pro. Let me know your thoughts on any of these keyboards in the comments down below, and also if you have enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.